You guys have been wanting to see a video on the Dustbuster van. You've been seeing it in the background. We've talked about it a little bit, and now it's time to dive in. Let's get started. This is a 1995 Oldsmobile Silhouette. There was multiple models that were all similar. There was the Pontiac Transport, there was the Chevy Lumina van, and this one being the Oldsmobile. The van's name is actually Dusty. It says it on the back window, and Mrs. Wizard will show you guys in the interior a little tidbit about that as well. But some of us are a little younger and we're like, what the heck's a Dustbuster? Why do you call it that? And the reason why is because in the 90s they had a little portable vacuum cleaner that was called the Dustbuster. Here's a picture of one. And if you look at the side profile or even the profile you're looking at now, the shape of this van is just like a Dustbuster vacuum from the 1990s. So that's why they call it that. This one's in really nice shape, but it has some small issues, and it is so cool. Grimes has actually been diagnosing this, has been, again, knocking it out of the park. He's found some issues, but just like with so many 1980s and 90s cars, is that it comes in for one problem, only to find more wrong and more wrong and more wrong. And this customer's been very nice to deal with. We really enjoy the van and we enjoy dealing with the customer, but I have had some in the past. They were like, bro, this is not what I budgeted. I don't appreciate you trying to upsell everything. And what we're going to show you today is not upsell. It's stuff that really does need to be fixed. Let's go ahead and take a look around this thing. It is so sweet. Look at that beautiful front face of this Silhouette Dustbuster van. Jurassic Park. It is in very nice shape. It's got like a champagne, is that champagne, Mrs. Wizard?
It could be. I had an Oldsmobile that same exact color, an Alaro.
Yep. As we go along to the side, you will see the Dustbuster profile. Very large ramp up the front, in the windshield, all the way to the roof. This is a long, sleek vehicle. It's really trying to go for some aerodynamics as much as you can for a rectangle box, which I think they did pretty good actually. It has this really cool pinstriping that's on the side. I believe that's stock, and here you can see it says Dusty, and there's the Dustbuster profile even in the sticker. So even though the Viper's in the way, you can see the Dustbuster profile, and it's really in really good shape. But you can see on the pillar where the decal is, from heat or whatnot, it's starting to crinkle. Got some little bubbles or crinkles and things going on. That we're not going to mess with. We don't do body decal work. And on the side, you can see this has the bulletproof engine that I always try to sell to you guys, the 3800 Series 1 tune port injection. Let's go ahead and take a look at this bulletproof 3.8. This hood opens weird. It kind of swings up. And then there's the prop rod. And there is our 3.8, just like you would see in a LeSabre or a Park Avenue or even some of the Grand Prix. Impalas had them. Very, very good engine. This one has a few electrical issues that we're working with, and Grimes is actually digging in. We'll talk about that here in a little bit, and then we'll look underneath after Mrs. Wizard gives her tour and show you some of the other things of down the line. Just wait, there's more. There keeps being more on this van. Let's jump into the interior.
Okay, ladies and gents, it's been a while since we've done an interior review and I've missed talking to you, but let's check out that mileage, 163,049. So this does have a fair amount of miles, but nothing too crazy for being that it's a 95. But simple gauges, very classic 90s Oldsmobile design there. As we move up, well, we have a dash cover, and because it's a customer's, we're not going to dig and pry underneath that because they put it there for a reason. So is it cracked? Well, I don't know. Live in mystery for the rest of your life. I'm sorry. There is the great little keychain there that looks very much like what we're in here now. Maybe it's a Volkswagen, but it's a cute little bus nonetheless. As we move over, Wizard promised, yes, there is our Dusty design right there on our custom, not just a regular dash mat, but a custom dash mat. Also, looky, we've got a hidey hole. Let's go ahead and take a peek in there. So as we slide that up, you'll see it looks like we've got a couple koozies in there and some tissues. So very important items when you're on the road. Also, when we put this up, you'll see that it's got a nice spot here and on the other side, which I'm guessing might have been cup holders back in the day. Nice, very lovely. As we scroll down, oh, well, that is quite the circuit board and fuses that we are seeing there. Well, obviously that is obviously covered up when we are not in diagnostic mode. So move over, you'll see push button HVAC controls, and look at all those push buttons on the radio as well. So move down, more tissues, so it must be allergy season here, which it pretty much is, and a nice little hidey hole. Let's take a peek. Whole lot of nothing. Fabulous. Nice and clean though. Because this doesn't come with a center console, they have added one. And looks like it's the wicker variety. Okay, that works. It doesn't slide around on the carpet at least, so that makes it easy. And looks like we've got some nice vintage Dave and Sugar greatest hits playing in our cassette player. As we move to our passenger seat, which the driver is very much the same, it is in excellent condition. Nice armrest and a little bit of interior parts there, but it's in great shape. Nice cushions. It feels like we're riding in a sofa going down the road. Door card in really good shape, considering there is plastic around that area where there looks to be a first aid kit and a little bit of hand sanitizer as well. But again, no tears, no rips, no holes, in amazing condition over there. As we move to our first row of the back seat, you'll see that, well, that's where they have put the interior pieces, which is fine because they're not dirty. As you can see, we've got the glove box and the knee bolster safely tucked away in the back seat. But you can see those seats are in really great condition. So even though this could have been a family hauler, I'm not seeing marks of Cheetos or ground-in Cheerios. It's all looking very good. Door card in amazing condition. Floor looking really good considering it's all carpet. This isn't the era of WeatherTech plastic mats, so we've got a few minor speckles, but for being of this age, it's an amazing shape. As I reach to the very back rows, because this does seat 7, you'll see that those seats in the back are in pristine condition. Got shoulder belts as well, so it's not very dangerous to be back there. Nice space to be. And it appears that this seat on this side, obviously, because it's the only one with the door, considering this was before the era of the 4-door minivan, this is just the 3-door with the back hatch. As we move to our ceiling, more perfect, pristine camel color as well. No sags, no tears, and again, those Cheeto fingers not happening. As we get to our steering wheel area, one last little thing, we can see we have some interesting controls for the wipers, very detailed and very noted. It's not just, oh, hey, here's where the wipers are, you figure it out. And on the other side, when we move over here, lights again, and again, very detailed, not just, hey, this is on and off. So, kind of interesting. Last thing we're ending up with is our leather covered steering wheel. Well, at least a leather cover. Again, we're not taking it off because again, it's not our vehicle. They put it there and they want it to stay there, so we're leaving it. There's our lovely Oldsmobile symbol, which unfortunately is no longer making cars. Enough of this interior talk. Let's get out there and see what's going on with this thing.
So here are with Grimes. Like I mentioned, he's been diving into this thing and he's found some things only to find more things. It came in with some idle issues and occasionally the engine would stall. And you found the IAC was bad?
Yep, I pulled the idle air control, solenoid motor. I guess this one's a motor, a stepper motor. But it has threads inside, and, well, half the threads are missing. So replaced that, got it to idle, start and run. And then while it was idling, we had it die again, but it was really sudden. We came to the conclusion that it was a voltage issue. So using the old Tech 2 scanner, I was seeing 10, 11 volts at the ECU, even though we had alternator producing 14 volts, voltage at all the terminals, everything like that, but the ECU wasn't seeing enough voltage. Dug a little bit deeper. We've got quite a bit of resistance between the engine and the battery ground, so I think that's where we're going to go next, is see if we can isolate it from there.
Definitely.
And, hopefully that's it. I did pull the ECU, did the freeze test on it just to make just to rule that out completely. Didn't see anything egregious on there, so.
Let's go ahead and open the door and show the ECU he's talking about. You just saw with Mrs. Wizard's interior tour some kind of a circuit board laying on the ground. Let's go take a look at that.
So on these older ECUs, they're really prone to a lot of cold solder joints, things like that. And a quick test is just throw it in the freezer, get it really cold, plug it in, see if you can duplicate the problem or if it improves. Didn't really have a change in idle quality or anything like that after freezing it, and I hit it with the thermal camera just to see if anything was getting egregiously hot. Didn't notice anything out of the ordinary there.
So you said freeze it. You actually did freeze it in the freezer.
Mm-hmm.
That's definitely a very good check. We didn't find any issues like you mentioned with that, but you definitely mentioned like you found some ground issues or something going on. So we solved the idle issue with the IAC. The IAC was literally coming apart into pieces, only to find out that there's more problems. So we found that. And then while he was working, you found a third issue, didn't you?
Yeah, the CV shaft, the boot on the inside, on the driver's side, is split, and it's just slinging all the grease everywhere. So.
Oh, let's get it up in the air and take a look. So checking under here, we see under the core support there's nothing wet. The engine itself is dry, the transmission pan and the oil pan are dry. But like Grimes mentioned that he saw, we'll move over to the driver's.
You can see quite a bit of it.
There's grease everywhere. That boot has split. That means that inboard joint has lost some of its lubricating because the grease is literally not even inside the joint anymore. It's outside the joint. That's going to need a new CV shaft. The brakes are about 60-70% remaining. The struts aren't blown out, nothing loose, but there again you can see all that grease being slung all over the place that Grimes found there. Check the other side. Brakes are the same. This CV shaft is good, it's not leaking.
Somebody's recently done an alignment.
Yep.
All the penetrant on there.
Yep, the strut is good. Nothing loose there. And from here back, there's really not a whole lot going on this van other than the fuel tank and some exhaust. Here's the floor pan.
Somebody has done a fuel filter, it looks like.
Yep. There's our solid beam rear suspension.
Well, and yeah, we kind of noticed that somebody had tried diagnosing this thing prior because the cap was missing on the fuel rail.
Oh yeah, somebody had been messing with it.
I'm guessing they probably threw a fuel filter, and if I was a betting man, there's probably a brand new fuel pump in it too.
Could be.
Yeah.
Nothing leaking out of the fuel tank. Our shock is nice and dry. Nothing leaking out of the bottom of our drums. Go to the other side. Shock is good. Drums are dry. Nothing loose there. And our spare has air in it. All right, well, let's go ahead and get this thing on the ground. So again, excellent work, Grimes. Very, very happy with the results we're seeing with our new guy here at the shop. He's definitely pulling his weight. We dove in to find out one problem, only to find 3 problems. Yeah. And that happens a lot on 90s cars. You've been through a lot of 90s cars, huh?
I tend to lean more towards those, so.
It can be a domino effect pretty quickly. All right, well, I'll let you go take a break in the AC. I just wanted to show everybody what you found and very pleased with the results. Luckily, there's not a huge slew of problems with this because it has a 3.8 with only 160-some thousand miles. It's barely even broken in. But so much on 90s and 80s vehicles that you could think that there's 1 or 2 problems with the car. You get it to the shop. You need to budget for 5 problems. There's probably going to have that many. Grimes is very happy to work on the 80s cars, 70s cars, 90s cars, and Danielson is as well. We're going to start taking in some of the older cars. We're not going to do the 50s and 60s cars. We're not going to get into that. If you got a 57 Thunderbird or 67 Nova, we're really not going to get into that. So 70s, 80s, and some of the really early 90s. This one's mid-90s. This is still OBD and everything, but 70s, 80s, early 90s. We will start working on these cars again on a case-by-case basis. And even if I decide to take on your car, it's going to be $200 an hour. We've actually had several people already scheduled. We've got a late 70s Volvo 262 Bertone. Customer said, I can't find anyone to work on it. Crazy D said, hey, we'll take it on, but up front, we're letting you know, bro, $200 an hour. And they're like, I'm happy with that. Please just work on my car. I don't even care. If we're going to have to spend the extra time researching and looking up parts and doing all this stuff, we're going to have to charge for that time. Yes, we will work on your older car, but you're going to pay $200 an hour. There's been a change. You say, well, you said you wouldn't work on these cars, and all of a sudden you will. Now that we have Grimes on board, and he's really, really charismatic about working on these, he loves these older cars, why not just make some money off of them? But again, it costs a little bit more. Very happy to get this thing sorted out for this customer. I really like these Dustbuster vans. Actually, Hoovy has seen this a couple times when he's been in the shop, and he's instantly attracted to it. Whatever he's talking about, whatever he's doing, he just stops and immediately walks over to the Dustbuster van. He's like, this is so cool. And it really is cool. Grimes mentioned using the Tech 2. I do have, and just purchased actually, an authentic GM Tech 2, which works on the older GMs all the way to, I think, 2013 or 2015 or something like that. So definitely have that as an option for diagnosis. So if you're curious what kind of tools we use to diagnose this Dustbuster van or work on any of the other cars in the shop, check our Amazon affiliates link in the description below. We get a small cut and really appreciate it. A lot of the tools that we use in the shop are listed there for sale for you to help save you from pulling your hair out. And make sure to hit the subscribe button because we're getting close to 1 million subscribers, and it would really help if you click on the subscribe button. Thanks for watching.